I was a ghost in someone else's story, the disposable ex-husband of an Ice Queen CEO in some generic thriller I'd woken up in. According to the plot, in 3 days, she was supposed to kick me to the curb. Then the novel's real hero would show up, see me as an ant buzzing around his queen, and squash me flat just to make a point. To save my own skin, I stayed up all night drawing up divorce papers. I was ready to walk away with nothing but the clothes on my back. A clean break. I never saw this coming. The second I slid the papers across her desk, this woman, who supposedly despised me down to my very bones, snatched them up and tore them into a million pieces right in front of my face. Her eyes were bloodshot, and her voice trembled. "Ethan, not in this lifetime. We are not getting divorced." She looked at me, her voice dropping to a fierce whisper. "And if anyone tries to divorce you from me, I'll destroy them." Hold on. This wasn't in the script. Hates my guts, remember? Since when does she sound like she'd take a bullet for me? Something is wrong with her. Something is seriously, fundamentally wrong. I stared at the confetti that used to be my get-out-of-jail-free card, my brain blue screening for a solid 3 seconds. What the hell? This is not how the story goes. Shouldn't she have signed it with a sneer, tossed a check at me, and told me to get lost? The farther, the better? The gold-plated Parker pen in my hand nearly slipped from my grasp. I just gawked at the woman sitting across from me, my wife, Isabella Thorne. Her custom-tailored black suit made her skin look like porcelain, her whole aura as cold and distant as the moon. But that stunningly beautiful face was twisted into an expression I'd never seen before. Panic and, was that heartbreak? And her eyes, her gorgeous eyes, were definitely red. I was seriously starting to think I'd been dropped into a corrupted version of a novel. "Isabella." The moment I spoke, she shot up from her chair, rounded the ridiculously expensive mahogany desk, and rushed toward me. Then, before I could react, she grabbed my hand. Her fingers were cold, and I could feel a faint tremor running through them. "Ethan, I'm so sorry." Her voice was thick and nasal, like she'd been crying for hours. "Lady, who are you? Did you get body snatched too? It was all my fault. I was blind. I was a monster. I'm begging you, please. Don't divorce me. Please." She looked up at me, and the tears she'd been holding back finally broke free, sliding down her cheeks and landing on the back of my hand. They were scalding hot. It was like that single teardrop set my entire bloodstream on fire. A shock wave went through me, from my toes to the roots of my hair, leaving me feeling like I'd been dunked in ice water. I am screwed. This woman is definitely not right in the head. In the original story, Isabella Thorne was the textbook definition of an Ice Queen CEO. The only man she ever showed a flicker of interest in was the story's protagonist, the ridiculously overpowered Damian Blackwood. She treated every other man like dirt, especially me, the husband her grandfather had forced on her in an arranged marriage. In a year of marriage, we'd barely spoken. Forget touching her. I don't think she'd ever willingly been in the same room with me for more than 5 minutes. The way she used to look at me, it was like I was something she'd scraped off the bottom of her shoe. And now she was holding my hand, crying, begging me not to leave. It's a trap. It has to be a massive, convoluted trap. Did she find out I was planning to skip town? Is she trying to placate me so she can cook up an even more brutal way to get rid of me, just to prove her loyalty to Damien before he even shows up? A shiver went down my spine. I yanked my hand back. "Ms. Thorne, let's just talk. No need to get physical." I forced myself to sound calm, taking a step back to create a safe distance. "It doesn't matter that you tore up the agreement. I have a digital copy. I could just print another one." I started to turn toward my laptop. "Don't you dare." Isabella's sharp command stopped me in my tracks. She blocked my path, spreading her arms like a mother hen protecting her chick. "Okay, this is getting weirder by the second. Ethan, what do I have to do to make you believe me?" My complete refusal to play along seemed to be pushing her to the edge. Her chest was heaving. "Money? A car? A house? Just name it. Whatever you want. I'll give it to you." I looked at her face, which was a mask of desperation and sincerity, and screamed internally. "Lady, what I want is to live. If I don't get out of here in 3 days, that walking plot device Damien is going to show up. The second he decides he wants you, the first thing he'll do is erase me. Your legal husband. What good is all your money then? I don't want anything," I said, taking a deep breath. My tone was final. "Isabella, let's just end this amicably. Don't worry, I'll walk away with nothing. I'll never bother you again. I don't agree. She cut me off again, her attitude as unyielding as granite. Just then, the office door was thrown open. Isabella, why are you wasting time with this loser? Just make him sign the papers and get out. I've already found you a new. My sharp-tongued mother-in-law, Karen, stormed in, her words catching her throat as she took in the scene. She saw Isabella's red-rimmed eyes and the tense standoff between us. Karen paused for a beat before aiming her fury squarely at me, her voice jumping an octave. Ethan, you worthless piece of trash. Did you bully Isabella again? You made her cry? I swear to God I'll... Mom! An ice-cold reprimand from Isabella stopped Karen's tirade cold. I watched, stunned, as Isabella spun around and stared down her own mother with a glare I'd never seen before. I'll let you in. Get out. Karen was completely floored. She pointed a trembling finger at her own nose, her face a mask of disbelief. Isabella, you're yelling at me? For this deadbeat. I said get out. Isabella's voice was devoid of any emotion. And another thing, you will not call him a deadbeat ever again. He is my husband, Ethan Carter. Karen's face went from white to red, as if she'd been slapped. As for me, I was past shocked. I was terrified. That's it. She's completely lost it. She's fighting her own mom just to keep me from leaving. What's her endgame? Is she planning to lure me back to the house and harvest my kidneys? The hair on my arm stood on end. I felt like I was caught in an invisible web. Just then, Isabella turned back to me, her expression instantly softening, becoming almost pleading. Ethan, let's go home, okay? I'll cook for you. With that, she took my wrist and started pulling me toward the door. I stared at her slender back, felt the surprising strength in her grip, and only one thought screamed through my mind. Run. Right now. Immediately. In the end, I was escorted home by Isabella. Sitting in the back of her Rolls-Royce Phantom, I was as stiff as a board, feeling like I was on a bed of nails. This is wrong. All of this is so wrong. In a year of marriage, I've never even touched the door handle of this car. Today, she's playing my personal chauffeur. I snuck a glance at Isabella in the driver's seat. She was driving smoothly, but her knuckles were white on the steering wheel. She wasn't as calm as she looked. We arrived back at our sham of a marital home, a sprawling villa in the exclusive Summit Estates. Before today, I was only ever allowed in the small guest house out back. But today, Isabella pulled me straight into the main house and toward the master bedroom. You can stay in here from now on, she said, pointing at the ridiculously large king-size bed. Her cheeks were faintly pink, and she couldn't quite meet my eyes. Warning bells went off in my head. Stay in a master bedroom? With her? What fresh hell is this? Is she trying to torture me by letting me look but not touch until I go insane from frustration and just keel over? That's pure evil. No, thanks. The guest house is fine, I said, refusing point blank. Are you kidding me? Sleep in the same bed as a woman who might go psycho and stab me in my sleep? I'm not suicidal. Isabella's face fell. The light in her eyes dimmed, and she looked so pitiful. Ethan, you're still angry with me, aren't you? I'm not angry. I'm terrified of dying, lady. I screamed in my head, but my face remained a calm mask. Ms. Thorne, I think it's better if we keep our distance. Call me Isabella, she corrected me stubbornly. I opted for silence. The atmosphere thickened with awkwardness again. Just then, my mother-in-law, Karen, came storming in, having followed us home. This is unbelievable. Isabella, did that loser put you under some kind of spell? You actually stood up to me for him. Her rant cut off when she saw Isabella standing at the master bedroom door, with me inside the room. Karen's eyes nearly popped out of her head. She rushed over, pulled Isabella behind her, and pointed a finger at my nose. Ethan, you shameless freeloader. Who said you could come in the master bedroom? Is that a place for you? Get out. Get out right now. Any other day, I would have been out the door before she finished her sentence. But today, before I could move, Isabella stepped in front of me. Mom, I told you, you're not to speak to him like that. Her voice was quiet but firm as a rock. From now on, Ethan lives in the master bedroom. He is the man of this house. Karen was completely bewildered by her daughter's 180-degree turn. She pointed at Isabella, then at me, her lips trembling with rage. You, fine, just fine. I'm done with you. When this leech bleeds you dry and you don't even have a shirt on your back, Don't you come crying to me. She stomped her foot, turned, and slammed the door on her way out. Finally, some peace and quiet. Isabella let out a sigh of relief and turned to me, her eyes full of apology. I'm sorry, my mom, It's fine. I'm used to it. I shrugged. It was the truth. I'd heard all a million times this past year. My casual acceptance seemed to sting her. She bit her lip and said softly, "It won't happen again. I promise." Then, as if to prove her point, she turned and walked toward the kitchen. You said you were hungry, right? I'll go make you something to eat. I watched her walk into a kitchen so pristine it looked like a showroom floor. A room she hadn't set foot in for a year, and a deep sense of dread washed over me. Her cook? Pigs will fly first. This has to be a trap. She's definitely going to poison the food. I quietly followed her and leaned against the doorframe, watching as she fumbled to get eggs and tomatoes out of the fridge. She stared at the high-end appliances with a completely blank expression, clearly having no idea where to start. She pulled out her phone, probably Googling how to make scrambled eggs with tomatoes. She cracked an egg clumsily, dropping half the shell into the bowl. She tried to fish out the shell, breaking the yolk in the process. She nearly sliced her finger off trying to chop a tomato. The way she looked, so flustered and yet so serious, completely shattered her Ice Queen CEO image. It was almost goo. I shook my head, forcing the dangerous thought out of my mind. Get a grip, Ethan. It's a honey trap. This is all a trick. And sure enough, the next second, whoosh, a loud roar, followed by a plume of thick black smoke, filled the kitchen, punctuated by Isabella's scream. My eyes widened, and I bolted into the room. Flames were shooting 2 feet high out of the pan. Isabella was frozen in place, her face pale with terror. Damn it. So plan A, poison, failed. We're moving on to plan B, arson. With no time to think, I grabbed the lid from a nearby pot and slammed it down on the fire. The flames died. The smoke made us both choke. Cough, cough, cough. Isabella's perfect face was smudged with soot, making her look like a sad little kitten. Her eyes were wide with shock. I looked at her, then at the black, unrecognizable lump in the pan, and said drily, Ms. Thorne, try to murder your husband is a felony. My words made her freeze. She slowly looked up, her beautiful eyes quickly filling with tears. Her lips trembled as if she wanted to explain, but no words came out. Then, the tears turned into fat droplets, rolling down her cheeks. She was crying, a silent, heartbreaking cry, her shoulders shaking. My head started to pound. Are you serious, lady? It was just a joke. Do you really have to cry? How did you become the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar corporation with a psyche this fragile? I didn't. She choked out, her voice barely a whisper. I just wanted to make you a meal. I didn't think this would happen. Seeing her cry like her world was ending, the wall of suspicion I'd built around my heart somehow softened. Just a little. Whatever. No point in arguing with a kitchen terrorist. I sighed, took the spatula from her hand, and scraped the lump of charcoal into the trash. All right, stop crying. You got soot all over your face. I grabbed a paper towel and handed it to her. She took it numbly, but didn't wipe her face. She just clutched in her hand, staring at me blankly. You're not mad at me. What would I be mad about? That you almost burned the house down, or that you wasted 2 perfectly good eggs? I said without looking at her, already starting to scrub the pan. In my past life, I was a perfectly capable single guy who could whip up a decent meal. She was at a loss for words, looking down like a kid who'd been caught drawing on the walls. I ignored her and grabbed fresh ingredients from the fridge, fired up the stove, poured the oil, cracked the eggs. The motions were smooth and practiced. In a few minutes, a perfect plate of golden scrambled eggs with fresh tomatoes and basil sat on the counter. The rich aroma filled the kitchen. Isabella's eyes lit up. She stared at me in disbelief. You know how to cook. Well, someone has to. I'd rather not get poisoned. Thanks, I said, carrying the plate to the dining table. I put on a pot of water for some simple buttered noodles. She followed me like a little shadow. I didn't know you could. Her voice was filled with regret. We've been married for a year, and I never even knew. There's a lot you don't know, I thought. We sat across from each other, eating this simple meal that was a year overdue. The atmosphere was a little strange. Isabella ate slowly, carefully, as if she were tasting some five-star gourmet dish. "It's delicious," she said suddenly, looking up and giving me a small smile. That smile was like the first thaw of spring. My heart skipped a beat. She's a siren. A damn siren. She's trying to seduce me. I quickly looked down and shoveled a huge bite of noodles into my mouth to hide my reaction. "Ethan," she said again, "tomorrow is my grandfather's birthday party. Will you come with me?" she asked, her voice soft and hesitant, almost a plea. My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. Here it comes. The crucial plot point. In the original novel, this was the party where the hero, the great Damian Blackwood, would make his grand entrance. He'd swoop in like the savior of the Thorne family, present an absurdly expensive gift that would blow everyone away, and then publicly declare his intentions for Isabella. He would point at me, the pathetic ex-husband, and tell me to get lost. And Isabella, while not immediately agreeing, would basically let it happen, allowing me to be publicly humiliated and thrown out. That was the beginning of my tragic end. And now, she was inviting me to attend? What is she planning? Does she want me to be there to witness her and Damien's budding romance firsthand, so I'll finally give up? Or does she want Damien to take care of me right then and there, at the party? 1,000 conspiracy theories raced through my mind. My survival instinct screamed at me to say no. Please. Before I could refuse, Isabella played her trump card. She completely abandoned her pride. She stood up, walked over to my side of the table, and leaned down, looking me straight in the eye. "Ethan, I know I let you down at past family events. You were treated horribly. This time I want to stand in front of everyone and tell them that you are my husband." Her gaze was so sincere it burned, and behind it was a fire I couldn't understand. "With you by my side, I'm not afraid of anyone." I stared at her impossibly beautiful face, so close to mine, and breathed in the faint, sweet scent of her perfume. My treacherous heart started hammering against my ribs. I'm losing my mind. She's crazy, and she's making me crazy. I know it's a trap, a lion's den, but why? Why did that make my heart flutter for a second? No. Snap out of it, Ethan. Survival. Stay away from the female lead. I took a deep breath, about to summon all my willpower and force out the word no. But as if she'd read my mind, Isabella cut me off. "If you come with me, I'll have my lawyers transfer 10% of the company's shares into your name." I froze. Wait, is she serious? 10% of Thorne Industries was worth billions. Billions with a B. She was offering me billions of dollars just to be her date to a birthday party. What's her angle? Does she think I'm handsome? Did I cook a mean scrambled egg? No. She's definitely trying to pay for my funeral in advance. I shot to my feet and stared her down. "Isabella, what are you really up to? Just say it. Stop playing these games with me." My sudden outburst startled her. She took a half step back, her face pale, her lips trembling. I'm not up to anything. Not up to anything." I let out a cold laugh. "Do you think I'm an idiot? First, you tear up the divorce papers. Then you try to cook for me. Now you're throwing billions of dollars at me. Isabella, what is your plan?" I had her cornered, with nowhere to run. Her eyes started to well up again. Just when I thought she was about to start crying, she lifted her chin, a new resolve hardening her expression. "Fine, I'll tell you. It's because Damian Blackwood is coming back." Boom. My mind went completely blank. How could she know about Damian? How could she possibly know the name of a character that should only exist in the pages of a novel? "How do you know about Damian?" The words rushed out of me, my voice hoarse with shock. "Is she a transmigrator, too?" No, her reactions don't fit. She doesn't seem to know the whole plot. Then, is she your aggressor? Reborn. A wild idea took root in my mind, sending a cold sweat down my back. If Isabella was reborn, it would explain everything. She knew how the last life ended. She knew Damian would destroy her family, and she knew what happened to me, the cannon fodder husband. So, she came back, and the first thing she did was stop the divorce, trying to lash me to her side for the coming war. But why me? In the original story, I was a total nobody. A zero. My only memorable moment was getting killed. Why would she think I could possibly stand against the novel's protagonist, Damian? Unless there's some hidden backstory to my character that even I don't know about. Isabella saw the shock on my face and seemed to misunderstand. She gave a bitter smile. "So you know about him, too, don't you?" I didn't answer, which was an answer in itself. In my past life, she began, each word a painful effort. It all started at that party. I let him humiliate you, and in doing so, I welcomed a wolf into my home. He used sweet words to win my trust. Then slowly, piece by piece, he devoured my family's company. In the end, everything was ruined because of me. My grandfather died from the shock, the company went bankrupt, and I became a toy he used to impress another woman. Her voice trembled, all the color draining from her face. And you, Ethan, you were the first person to die because of me. The last thing I saw before I died was Damien standing over your body, laughing at me. Even though I knew the plot, hearing it laid out so brutally from her perspective sent a chill through me. Damn, so Damien really is a scumbag of the highest order. So, I said, looking at her, you came back to stop all of this from happening? Yes. She nodded, her eyes hardening with resolve. I want revenge. I want to make Damien pay for what he did. And I want to save my family. Then why come to me? I asked the most important question. You should know, I'm just a regular guy. I can't fight him. No, you're not. Isabella shook her head fiercely, her gaze locking onto mine. She spoke each word with chilling certainty. You are not a regular guy. Ethan, after I died in my past life, my soul lingered. I saw things. Glimpses of the future. Glimpses of the future. My heart clenched. I saw that after you died, titans of industry mourned for you. The giants of Wall Street flew their flags at half-mast. Oil princes from the Middle East shed tears for you. There were even aircraft carriers that moved into international waters in your honor. They all called you by one name, King. I was speechless, utterly and completely dumbfounded. King? What the hell? Is that a backstory this character is supposed to have? Was the author drunk? They gave me this insane background, but had me get killed off in the first chapter? How does that make any sense? My entire understanding of this world was cracking at the seams. Seeing my silence, Isabella must have thought I didn't believe her. She added urgently, It's true, Ethan. I saw it all. You were the real power hiding in the shadows. Compared to you, Damien Blackwood is nothing but a clown. So, this time I will not let you go. No matter what, you are the Thorne family's only hope. And you are my only salvation. Her words were a bombshell that detonated in my brain. It was too much information to process. If what she said was true, then my original identity in this world was far more incredible than I could have imagined. And the moment I arrived was right when this king had fallen from grace and was laying low. So I'm not nobody. I'm just offline for a bit. In that case, who the hell is Damien? When I get my memories or my power back, I'm going to wipe the floor with him. Thinking this, the part of me that just wanted to run for the hills suddenly felt a spark of ambition. Run? Why should I run? Some dime a dozen protagonist thinks he can make me run scared. In a last life, he stood over my dead body. In this one, I'm going to make him kneel. Isabella saw the change in my eyes, and a flicker of hope ignited on her face. Ethan, you'll do it. I snapped back to reality, meeting her hopeful gaze. I cleared my throat and said in a deep, deliberate tone, Since you put it that way, I suppose I can accompany you to the party tomorrow. Oh, thank God. Isabella was so excited she nearly jumped. She rushed forward to hug me. I instinctively took a step back. She stopped, her arms frozen midair, a little embarrassed. About the shares. I'll have the lawyer draw up the papers tomorrow. I waved my hand dismissively, adopting an air of mystery. Mere shares are of no consequence. Don't get me wrong, I still want the billions, but you've got to maintain the image. Right now, I'm hungry. Let's eat. Right. Yes. Let's eat. Isabella nodded eagerly, like a little girl who'd just been given candy, and obediently sat back down. Watching her trying so hard to please me, and thinking about the ice queen she used to be, I felt a strange sense of satisfaction. Getting an ice queen CEO to cook for me, beg me to go to a party. This is way better treatment than that Damien chump ever got. Maybe I don't have to get divorced just yet. I looked at Isabella, who was taking small, delicate bites of her food, and a small smile played on my lips. Damien Blackwood, huh? The great hero, fine. Let's see who really owns the stage tomorrow. The next day, the Thorne family birthday gala. Practically every big name in Crestview City's high society was there. Dressed in a custom suit Isabella had delivered overnight, I stood by her side, weathering a storm of shocked, scornful, and amused stares. Is it that the Thorne family's useless live-in son-in-law? How does he still have the nerve to show up? Look at Ms. Thorne. She's actually holding his arm. That's a first. It's probably just for show. Everyone knows she can't stand him. The whispers were just loud enough to reach my ears. I remained stone-faced, completely unfazed. Fools! You know nothing of your queen's loyalty. Isabella, however, was tense. She squeezed my arm and whispered, "Don't listen to them." I patted the back of her hand and gave her a reassuring look. "Don't worry, I got this." She looked at me and nodded firmly, her eyes brimming with a trust and dependence that was almost tangible. Just then, a commotion erupted at the ballroom entrance. "It's Mr. Blackwood. Oh my God, it's Damian Blackwood from Apex Corporation." I raised an eyebrow. Showtime. A young man in a pristine white suit, with a dangerously handsome face and an arrogant swagger, walked in surrounded by bodyguards. He carried an ornate gift box, a confident, predatory smile on his face. The one and only Damian Blackwood. The moment he entered, his eyes locked onto Isabella, then drifted to me, the inconvenient accessory on her arm. When he saw her holding on to me so tightly, his expression instantly turned to ice. A palpable wave of killing intent washed over me. Well now, level 6 on the animosity scale. He's not subtle, is he? Damian strode toward us, the crowd parting for him like the Red Sea. He stopped in front of us, completely ignoring me, and flashed Isabella a smile he clearly thought was irresistible. "Isabella, my love, it's been too long. You're as beautiful as ever." Isabella's face went cold. She leaned closer to me, her tone dismissive. "Mr. Blackwood, watch your words. We're not familiar." Damian's smile froze. He obviously hadn't expected to be shut down so publicly. His gaze fell on me again, this time dripping with undisguised contempt. "And this is your husband? A freeloader who does nothing but live off you." Here we go, the classic taunt. Before I could say a word, Isabella shot back, her voice like ice. "Damian, I suggest you show some respect. This is my husband, Ethan Carter." "Husband?" Damian scoffed, as if he'd heard the world's funniest joke. "Isabella, don't be ridiculous. How could a loser like this possibly be worthy of you? I came here today to celebrate your grandfather's birthday and to ask for your hand in marriage." With a flourish, he opened the gift box. Inside lay a branch of what looked like blood-red coral, shimmering with an otherworldly light. 1,000-year blood coral. My God, that must be worth over $100 million. "Mr. Blackwood is playing for keeps." Gasps of awe rippled through the crowd. Damian basked in the attention, shooting Isabella a triumphant look before giving me a condescending smirk. "Isabella, tell this bum to get lost. Do that, and a $10 billion partnership with Apex Corporation is yours." $10 billion. The entire room erupted. All of Isabella's relatives were practically salivating. My mother-in-law, Karen, was the first to rush forward, her face plastered with a greasy smile. "Mr. Blackwood, you're too generous. Our Isabella has been wanting to divorce this loser for ages. I'll make her do it right now." She reached out to grab Isabella. "Mom!" Isabella was trembling with rage. "Enough!" A deep, commanding voice boomed from the head table. Old Man Thorne, Isabella's grandfather, slowly rose to his feet, leaning on his cane, his eyes cold as he surveyed the chaos. "My granddaughter's life is not for some outsider to dictate." The old man's gaze was sharp as a razor as he fixed it on Damian. "Young man, I appreciate the gift, but the Thorne family is not worthy of your marriage proposal. As for my granddaughter's marriage, as long as Isabella herself does not wish to end it, no one can force her." The grandfather's words echoed with authority, instantly silencing the room. Damian's face turned ugly. "Nice one, Gramps. A lot more spine than in the book. Looks like Isabella's return has already started to change things." I gave the old man a mental thumbs up. Publicly rejected, Damian's pride was wounded. His eyes, dark with malice, locked onto me. All his rage now had a target. "Fine. Just fine," he snarled, his lips twisting into a sneer. "The Thorns have principles. Let's see how long you last without my partnership. And you, he pointed a finger at my nose. You piece of trash. You dare hold onto Isabella? I'm giving you 3 seconds to get away from her. If you don't, you won't live to see another sunrise. A naked threat. The air grew thick and heavy. Everyone held their breath, waiting to see how I, the loser, would react. Isabella gripped my hand, her palm slick with cold sweat. But I just smiled. I gently removed her hand from my arm, took a step forward, and met Damien's arrogant, I own the world glare. 3 seconds. I held up 3 fingers. Then, one by one, I folded them down. 3, 2, 1. Time's up. I looked at him, my smile calm and easy. Now it's my turn. I'll give you a choice to. Right here, right now. Get on your knees and apologize to my wife. Or I won't mind having Apex Corporation erased from Crestview City, starting today. My voice wasn't loud, but it hit the silent ballroom like a depth charge. Silence. A dead, ringing silence. Then, an explosion of laughter. Ha ha ha. Did I hear him right? What did that loser just say? He told Mr. Blackwood to kneel, and that he'd erase Apex Corp? Is he dreaming? He's insane. How did the Thorns end up with a lunatic for a son-in-law? My mother-in-law, Karen, looked like she was about to faint. Ethan, she shrieked. You suicidal moron. Are you trying to get us all killed? Damien himself was stunned for a moment. Then he burst out laughing, a loud, exaggerated bray. Ha ha. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. He laughed so hard he bent over, tears forming in his eyes. He pointed at me and said to Isabella, You see, Isabella, this is the man you chose. A madman who's all talk. Isabella's face was pale, but she didn't back down. Instead, she stepped forward and stood firmly by my side. I believe him. 3 simple words. They stopped Damien's laughter cold. His face darkened, turning into a thunderous mask. Fine, you believe him. Damien ground out through clenched teeth. Let's just see how he erases my company today. He pulled out his phone, dialed a number, and put on speaker. Yeah, Reaper? Get your boys over to the Thorn estate. There's a fly buzzing around that needs to be swatted. A rough voice came through the speaker. You got it, Mr. Blackwood. 5 minutes. Reaper, the king of Crestview City's underworld. Ruthless, with 100 thugs at his beck and call. The name sent a collective shiver through the guests. Grandfather Thorn's face changed. Damien, he roared. You dare start something at my birthday party? Don't worry, old man, Damien said, hanging up, a cruel grin spreading across his face. I'm just helping you teach some manners to an unruly servant. It won't get bloody. At most, a few broken bones. His eyes were on me, a predator sizing up its prey, already imagining me broken and begging on the floor. Isabella was frantic. She grabbed my arm. Ethan, we have to go. Now. I patted her hand reassuringly. Then, I slowly took out my own phone. It was an old, beat-up Nokia, not even a smartphone. Seeing it, Damien snorted. What? You gonna call for backup, loser? With that antique? Can it even make a call? I ignored him, scrolled through my contacts to a number with no name, and dialed. The phone rang once before it was picked up. A voice, just as old but filled with an unshakable authority, came through the speaker. Yes. I spoke calmly, my voice carrying through the silent ballroom. Old-timer, it's Ethan Carter. Crestview City. A company called Apex Corporation. Boss's name is Damien Blackwood. There's also some lowlife named Reaper. Runs the local gangs. I'm giving you 10 minutes. I don't want to hear those names ever again. Then I hung up. The room was silent again. Everyone was looking at me like I was a complete and utter idiot. This guy's certifiably insane. Old-timer? Who does he think he's calling? The president? Damien was laughing so hard he couldn't stand up straight. Keep acting. Let's see what happens in 10 minutes. Will my guys be carrying him out, or will your old-timer actually make my company disappear? 5 minutes later, the ballroom doors were kicked open. A mountain of a man, bald, covered in tattoos, and draped in gold chains, stormed in with dozens of men in black suits. It was Reaper. Mr. Blackwood. I'm here. Who's the punk? Reaper bellowed. Damien pointed at me smugly. That's him. Reaper grinned, a brutal, ugly thing, and started walking toward me. Isabella squeezed her eyes shut. The Thorn family looked on in horror. Just as Reaper's fist was about to connect with my face, his phone rang. A frantic, desperate ringing, like an alarm bell. Reaper irritably pulled out his phone, glanced at the caller ID, and his face instantly turned sheet white. He froze, as if struck by lightning, sweat beading on his forehead. His hand trembled as he answered the call. Ashilu. Dragon. An enraged roar erupted from the phone, so loud the entire ballroom could hear it. Reaper, are you trying to get yourself killed? You touch one hair on Mr. Carter's head, and I'll chop you into dog food. Now, get on your knees. Apologize to Mr. Carter. Beg him for forgiveness. If you don't, you'll be at the bottom of the river by morning. Reaper's legs gave out. With a loud thud, he dropped to his knees in front of me. His phone slipped from his hand and clattered to the floor. He looked up, his brutish face filled with a terror I'd never seen on another human being. And Mr. Carter, I'm a blind fool. I deserve to die. Please spare my life. He started slapping himself across the face hard. Smack, smack, smack. The sharp, wet sounds echoed through the petrified hall. Everyone was frozen in place. Damien's smile was completely gone, replaced by a mask of sheer disbelief. His smug and vicious expression shattered like glass, falling away to reveal nothing but shock and utter disbelief. Reaper, what are you doing? He stammered. Reaper didn't even look at him. He just kept slamming his forehead against the marble floor, the impacts making dull, sickening thuds. Mr. Carter, I'm a blind, stupid bastard. It was this piece of trash, Damien, who told me to do it. It had nothing to do with me. Please, sir, have mercy, just let me go. The scene completely upended everyone's reality. The king of the city's underworld was kneeling before me, the worthless freeloader, bowing and begging for his life like a dog. Dragon, I filed that interesting tidbit away. So this Reaper character is just a pawn for a bigger fish. And that bigger fish knows who I am. Fuzzy, indistinct fragments flashed through my mind, too fast to catch. No matter. Time for that later. I looked down at the groveling man on the floor and said calmly, I'm not interested in your life. Reaper looked up, tears of relief streaming down his face. Thank you, Mr. Carter. Thank you. However, my voice turned sharp, and my gaze shifted to the now ashen-faced Damien. He needs to leave something behind. Reaper understood immediately. He scrambled to his feet, turned, and his eyes, now burning with murderous rage, fixed on Damien. Blackwood, you bastard! You try to get me killed. Reaper roared like a wounded animal and launched himself at Damien. Arg! A gut-wrenching scream tore from Damien's throat as Reaper's boot sent him flying. Then came a storm of fists and kicks. You set me up. I'll kill you, you son of a bitch. You dared to offend Mr. Carter. Your whole family is going to die for this. Reaper and his men channeled all their terror of me into pure, unadulterated fury against Damien. The ballroom was filled with the sounds of pig-like squeals and the sickening crunch of breaking bones. The guests stumbled backward, not daring to breathe. The Thorne family relatives were pale as ghosts, their eyes fixed on me, filled with a new kind of fear. My mother-in-law, Karen, went limp and collapsed to the floor, a dark stain spreading on her designer dress. She'd wet herself. But Isabella, standing beside me, watched the brutal scene unfold without a trace of fear. Her beautiful eyes were shining with a strange light. She looked at my profile, her expression a mixture of awe, adoration, and love. He really is. He's king, she thought. This time, I bet on the right person. I ignored the reactions of the crowd and just watched dispassionately as Damien was beaten into a pulp. Finally, when he was nothing more than a broken heap on the floor, barely breathing, I raised my hand. Enough. Reaper stopped instantly and stood respectfully to the side. I walked over to Damien, crouched down, and looked at his face, now swollen and purple like a bloated eggplant. I smiled. So, do you still think I was all talk? Damien's eyes were bloodshot, filled with an endless, bottomless terror. He tried to speak, but only managed to spit out a mouthful of bloody foam and a few broken teeth. Why you? Just then, Damien's phone started ringing. It was his company's vice president. With a trembling hand, Damien managed to answer it. A voice, choked with despair, came through the speaker. And Mr. Blackwood, it's over. The company, we're finished. Just moments ago, all our bank accounts were frozen. Every single one of our partners terminated their contracts. The IRS, OSHA, SEC. Every agency is raiding our offices as we speak. Our stock price. In 10 minutes, it plummeted to zero. The company is bankrupt. Boom. That news was the final straw. Damien's eyes rolled back in his head, and he passed out cold. 10 minutes. Not a second more, not a second less. Apex Corporation, a multi-billion-dollar empire, had truly been turned to dust in exactly 10 minutes. I stood up and glanced around the room. Everyone I made eye contact with immediately looked away, too terrified to meet my gaze. You could have heard a pin drop. Ethan Carter, the man they had all considered a worthless piece of trash, was now the undisputed god in this room. The gala ended in a bizarre and abrupt fashion. Or rather, it was forcibly terminated. Reaper dragged Damien's unconscious body out like a sack of garbage. No one knew or cared if he was dead or alive. The guests, still in shock, mumbled their excuses and fled the Thorne estate as if it were haunted. As they left, their gazes toward me were a cocktail of awe, fear, and fawning respect. The Thorne relatives who remained were practically invisible, shrinking into the corners of the room. My mother-in-law, Karen, hid behind the old man, too terrified to even look in my direction. Soon, only the core family members and I were left. Grandfather Thorne walked toward me, leaning on his cane, his weathered eyes filled with a complex mix of emotions. There was shock, curiosity, but mostly a profound sense of relief. Good, very good, he said, patting my shoulder. Ethan, it seems the Thorne family has wronged you. I offered a small smile. What's past is past. The old man nodded, then glanced at Isabella, who was still staring at me with a dazed, adoring look. Isabella is the luckiest woman in the world to have married you, he said meaningfully. From now on, I'm entrusting the family to you. With that, he allowed his butler to escort him back to his private quarters. Once he was gone, the remaining family members grew even more anxious. Finally, my uncle, Robert Thorne, forced a smile that looked more like a grimace and approached me. Ethan, my boy, look, that was all a misunderstanding. We were all fooled by that Damien character. You're a bigger man than us. Don't hold it against your family. Yes, we're all family here, the others chimed in, their voices dripping with a newfound humility. Before I could respond, Isabella's expression turned to ice. Now you remember we're family? Where was that sentiment when you were trying to force me to divorce him and marry Damien? Her voice was quiet, but it made every one of them hang their heads in shame. That's enough, Isabella, I said, gently taking her hand. There was no point in wasting time on these fair-weather relatives. I waved a hand at them. You can all go. My words were like a presidential pardon. They scurried out of the room in a flash. Finally, we were alone. Isabella could no longer contain her emotions. She threw herself into my arms, holding me so tight I could barely breathe. Ethan, you were incredible. I knew it. I knew you weren't just some ordinary person. She buried her face in my chest, her voice trembling with excitement. Her warm breath seeped through my shirt, sending a strange heat through me. My body tensed for a second, but I found myself raising a hand and gently patting her back, having this beautiful, powerful woman in my arms. It wasn't bad. Not bad at all. Stay calm, Ethan. This is all part of the survival plan, I told myself, even though my body was making no effort to push her away. She held on for a long time before reluctantly letting go. She tilted her head back, her face flushed, her eyes sparkling like a star-filled sky. Ethan, that old-timer you called. Who was he? He's so powerful. My eye twitched. Hell if I know. I had literally just picked a random number. I had no clue who was on the other end, or why they were so damn effective. But the bluff had to continue. I shook my head, affecting a mysterious air. It's better if you don't ask. Oh, Isabella stuck out her tongue playfully. Instead of being put off, she just looked even more intrigued, as if my secrecy only added to my charm. So, what does king mean? She asked, her curiosity getting the better of her. That was a question I wanted to answer myself. But for now, the act had to go on. It's just a code name. And when will you get your memory back? Soon, I answered vaguely. Seeing the pure worship on her face, I had to admit this amnesiac hidden king role was kind of fun. At the very least, until I figured everything out, I could use it as a cover to turn the tables on anyone who underestimated me. Let's go home, I said. Okay. Isabella nodded emphatically, then actively and naturally linked her arm with mine. This time, I didn't pull away. On the drive back, Isabella chattered nonstop, happy as a lark. She told me about the fear and anxiety she felt after being reborn and the joy and conviction she felt when she found me. I listened quietly, humming in agreement now and then. I could feel the wall of ice between us rapidly melting away. Back at the villa, as soon as we walked in, Isabella pulled a brand new pair of men's slippers from the shoe cabinet, knelt down, and put them on my feet herself. From now on, you're the boss of this house, she said, looking up at me, her eyes sincere. I looked down at her, kneeling at my feet, so humble and gentle. It was a stark contrast to the decisive, powerful CEO she was during the day. The whiplash was intense. Damn, who could possibly resist this? I clear my throat to cover my own turmoil. So, where am I sleeping tonight? I was still hoping for the guest house. For safety. Isabella stood up, her cheeks crimson. She took my hand and pulled me straight into the master bedroom. Then right in front of me, she pulled a comforter out of the closet and placed it on the floor. You sleep on the bed, she said, pointing to the king-size mattress. I'll be fine on the floor. Her voice was barely a whisper, her face so red it looked like it might catch fire. I watched her, ready to make a nest for herself on the cold, hard floor, and I finally broke. I reached out and pulled her to her feet. What are you doing? I was afraid you wouldn't want to see me, she said, looking utterly dejected. I sighed. This is just cruel. I took the comforter from her, tossed it back onto the bed, and then, to her utter shock, I swept her up into my arms. Ah, she cried out, instinctively wrapping her arms around my neck, her mind completely blank. I carried her to the bed and gently set her down. Then I turned, grabbed the comforter, and walked over to the sofa. You sleep on the bed. I'll take the couch. With that, I lay down. From behind me, I heard Isabella's voice, thick with emotion. Ethan, you're so good to me. I closed my eyes, a smile I couldn't suppress spreading across my face. Of course I am. Who's better? That night, we shared a room, and nothing happened. But I knew this was just the beginning. Damian Blackwood was just an appetizer. I'd already thrown the novel's plot into complete chaos. What other monsters would crawl out of the woodwork? And who exactly was I, this supposed king? The future was a minefield of unknowns. But for some reason, I wasn't afraid. In fact, I was looking forward to it. The next morning, I woke to the smell of food. I opened my eyes to see Isabella, wearing a pink apron, setting plates of exquisite-looking breakfast on the table. The sunlight streaming through the window cast a golden halo around her, making her look like a painting. You're awake. Her eyes lit up when she saw me, her smile radiant. Go wash up. I made you breakfast. I stared at the spread on the table, which looked like a buffet from a five-star hotel, and blinked. You made this? No, she said, sticking her tongue out sheepishly. I had a Michelin-starred chef come over before dawn. I just heated it up. Yep, that sounds about right. During breakfast, Isabella slid a folder across the table to me. These are the share transfer documents from my lawyer. Just sign here, and 10% of Thorne Industries is yours. I looked at the documents worth billions of dollars and felt absolutely nothing, is what I would say if I were a liar. Holy crap, billions, just like that. But on the outside, I maintained the cool, detached demeanor of a master. I didn't reach for the pen. I just looked at her. I told you, I don't care about that stuff. I know you don't, Isabella said quickly, but it's a gesture from me. Think of it as me holding it for you, okay? She pushed the pen into my hand, her eyes pleading. All right, Fine. If you insist. I scribbled my name with a flourish. As of today, I was officially a billionaire. Though for someone who used to be king, maybe the money really was just a number. After breakfast, Isabella left for the office. Alone in the massive villa, I began to contemplate a serious question. How do I get my awesome past back? The things Isabella mentioned, aircraft carriers, Wall Street titans, it didn't sound like they belonged in this world. Was I part of some secret global organization? I took out my old Nokia and scrolled through the contacts. There were only a handful of numbers, none with names. The one I called yesterday, I'd since labeled old-timer. Maybe. I should try another one. I picked a random number and dialed. Ring. Ring. It rang for a long time. Just as I was about to hang up, someone answered. A lazy, magnetic female voice drifted through the speaker, thick with sleep. Who is it? It's the crack of dawn. Don't you know it's rude to wake a girl up? I clear my throat. It's Ethan Carter. There were 3 seconds of dead silence. Then, a shriek loud enough to shatter glass. King! Oh my God! King! You're alive. You finally called me. Do you have any idea how worried we've been this past year? Where are you? I'm on my way. The woman's voice was a torrent of excitement and joy. The shouting was making my ear ache. I held the phone away from my head. Another one who knows me. My social circle was pretty diverse, apparently. I have amnesia, I said, cutting to the chase. What? Her voice shot up again. Amnesia? What happened? Who did it? Tell me who did it, and I'll lead a team to go hunt them down. Geez, this one's even more violent than the last one. I don't know, I said. I'm in Crestview City right now. I need to get my memory back. Crestview City. The woman paused. Okay, I get it. Stay put. I'll arrange for someone to help you. 3 days. No. Within 24 hours, all the data on your past year will be delivered to you. And King, remember my code name. Red Queen. Anything you need from now on, you call me. Got it, Red Queen. After hanging up, I felt a sense of relief. It seemed the truth was finally within reach. That afternoon, bored out of my mind, I decided to go for a walk. I just left the gated community when a flashy red Ferrari screeched to a halt in front of me. The window rolled down to reveal an impossibly beautiful face. It was Isabella, going somewhere. Where to? I'll give you a ride, she said with a brilliant smile. Just wandering. Then, I'll come with you. She pulled me into the car before I could argue. Let's go to the mall. I'll buy you some new clothes, Isabella said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I looked down at my $10 t-shirt and nodded. It was probably time for an upgrade. We arrived at Crestview City's most luxurious shopping center. With Isabella on my arm, we walked into an Armani boutique. A saleswoman in a flashy dress immediately came over. But the moment her eyes landed on me, her smile soured into a look of pure contempt. She had clearly mistaken me, in my cheap clothes, for some gigolo trying to leech off a rich woman. Ms. Thorne, welcome. She gave Isabella a sycophantic smile, then turned to me with a sneer. Sir, I'm sorry, but our store policy prohibits improperly dressed individuals from entering. Isabella's face instantly went arctic. What did you say? Her voice was so cold it could have caused frostbite. The saleswoman was taken aback by her intensity, but, relying on her status as store manager, pushed on. Ms. Thorne, it's just our rules. This gentleman's attire really doesn't fit our brand's image. I'm afraid he'll disturb the other customers. As she spoke, she shot me a disdainful sideways glance that screamed, a poor slob like you doesn't belong in Armani. Great, another one who can't see past the cover. I wasn't bothered. People this small weren't worth my energy. Isabella, however, was furious. She had endured a lifetime of being looked down on in her past life, and she refused to let me suffer the slightest indignity in this one. Rules. Isabella let out a cold laugh. Is this how your rules tell you to treat customers? Get him over here, she said, pointing to a man in a suit talking on the phone nearby. The saleswoman's face changed. Ms. Thorne, what are you? I said, get him over here. Isabella's voice was sharp. The man seemed to notice the commotion, ended his call, and hurried over. Ms. Thorne, good afternoon. I'm the regional manager. How may I help you? His tone was impeccably respectful. Isabella pointed at the saleswoman. I have a question. Is she an employee of this store? Yes. She's the store manager, Tiffany, the manager replied, confused. Good, Isabella nodded. As of right now, she's fired. Also this store? I'm buying it. Her words, delivered so casually, landed like a thunderclap. The saleswoman, Tiffany, was completely stunned. MMS. Thor, you can't do that. I can't. Isabella looked down her nose at her, her eyes filled with scorn. This entire shopping mall is owned by my family. If I tell you to get out, you get out. As for this store, Isabella pulled out her phone and made a call. Yes, legal. I want you to acquire the Armani flagship store in Crestview. I want it done in 5 minutes. She hung up without giving the ashen-faced saleswoman another glance. She turned to me, her expression instantly softening. Ethan, let's go somewhere else. I watched her, a one-woman wrecking crew, and had to hide a smile. She's in full-on protective wife mode. I put a hand on her arm. Wait. I walked over to Tiffany, who was now slumped on the floor, and crouched down. Do you know what you did wrong? I asked softly. The woman was trembling, babbling incoherently. I was wrong. I shouldn't have judged you. I'm so sorry. I shook my head and smiled. No, your biggest mistake wasn't looking down on me. It was looking down on anyone. Never bet your career against someone else's pocket money. With that, I stood up, took Isabella's hand, and walked out of the store, leaving a gallery of awestruck employees in our wake. Outside, Isabella was still fuming. She got off easy. She should be blacklisted from every retail job in this city. I gently squeezed her cheek. Come on, don't waste your energy on small-timers. It's beneath you. My casual, affectionate gesture seemed to short-circuit her brain. Her cheeks flushed, and she looked down, mumbling a soft, "Okay." We continued our shopping spree. Isabella was a woman on a mission, buying me an entirely new wardrobe from head to toe. $1 million watch, suits worth tens of thousands, shoes that cost more than a car. When I changed into the new clothes, my entire aura shifted. The lazy, casual vibe was replaced by an understated but undeniable air of authority. Isabella stared at me, her eyes practically sparkling. Wow, you look amazing. Just as we were about to leave, my phone rang. It was Red Queen. King, the package has arrived. That fast. I was surprised. No one dares to delay when it comes to you, Red Queen said with a hint of a smile. It's in the mailbox at your villa in the Summit Estates. It's an encrypted file. The password is your birthday. My birthday. Without thinking, I recited a string of numbers. Correct. After she hung up, a jolt went through me. Why? Why did I remember that date? The numbers had just tumbled out, as if they were etched into my soul. It seemed my memories were finally starting to surface. What's wrong? Isabella asked, noticing my expression. Nothing. Let's go home. I hurried her back to the villa. Sure enough, there was a plain manila envelope in the mailbox. Inside was a single, thin data chip. I took the chip and, with Isabella at my side, went to the study and plugged it into my laptop. A password prompt appeared on the screen. I took a deep breath and typed in the birthday I had recalled so effortlessly. A soft beep. Password accepted. A massive, encrypted database loaded onto the screen. The name of the database was a single word, Pantheon, and at the very top of the directory, a file marked with the highest level of security clearance. Its title read, Project Hibernation, the Fall and Concealment of King. My heart seized in my chest. This was it, the truth. I clicked open the file. A torrent of information flooded the screen. Isabella stood behind me, holding her breath. The file was long and complex. It detailed the existence of a secret organization that operated above all world governments and corporations, the Pantheon. The Pantheon controlled the world's economy, technology, and military might from the shadows. And I, Ethan Carter, codenamed King, was its founder and its one true ruler. A year ago, a faction of traitors within the Pantheon had colluded with outside forces to assassinate me. In the ensuing battle, I had eliminated the traitors, but not before being critically injured and poisoned with a neurotoxin called Lethes dust, which sealed away my memories and most of my powers. To escape the remaining enemies and to allow me to heal, Red Queen and the Old-Timer, another founding member of the Pantheon, codenamed the Godfather, had initiated Project Hibernation. They had transported me to this seemingly ordinary parallel world, the world of this web novel, to live as a normal person, the ultimate form of hiding in plain sight. The Thorne family was my designated cover. Grandfather Thorne had been indebted to the Godfather in his youth, which is why he had gone to such lengths to arrange my marriage to Isabella. It was all part of the plan. They just never counted on me, a transmigrator from another world, inhabiting this body. And they certainly never counted on Isabella being reborn. All the pieces suddenly clicked into place. As I read, the memories belonging to King came rushing back, commanding the tides of Wall Street, fighting off 100 men on a battlefield, looking down upon the world from a throne of power. The authority, the wisdom, and the strength of the king were reawakening within me. I closed my eyes, absorbing it all. After a long moment, I opened them and let out a slow breath. So that's how it was. Ethan, do you remember? Isabella asked softly from behind me. I swiveled the chair around to face her. The way I looked at her now was completely different. The suspicion and caution were gone, replaced by a genuine warmth and apology. I remember some of it. I nodded. Isabella, this past year, you've been through a lot. Being forced to marry a loser like me, enduring the pressure from her family and the outside world. She didn't deserve any of it. My words made Isabella's eyes well up instantly. She had waited so long to hear something like this. No, I haven't. She shook her head, but the tears fell anyway. As long as I can be with you, none of it matters. I stood up, walked to her, and gently wiped the tears from her eyes. You won't have to suffer anymore. I looked her in the eye and made a solemn vow. From now on, no one in this world will ever be allowed to wrong you again. Because you are my woman. You are the queen to my king. My intense gaze made Isabella's heart flutter, her cheeks turning a deep shade of crimson. So what do we do now? She asked. Your enemies, will they come looking for you? They will, I nodded. But don't worry. I returned to the computer and opened the Pantheon's internal communication system. I leaned toward the microphone, and, in a voice that held a long-forgotten but unmistakable authority, I issued my first command. This is King. Relay my orders. All agents of the Pantheon are to be activated from hibernation status. The cleansing protocol begins now. I want every rat hiding in the shadows to know. The king has returned. My voice traveled through encrypted channels to every corner of the globe. In that instant, countless Pantheon members, from financial moguls at negotiating tables to mercenary commanders on the battlefield, all stopped what they were doing. On their faces, an expression of ecstatic, fanatical joy. Their king was back. A storm was about to sweep across the entire planet. I looked over at Isabella, who was staring at me with a mixture of shock and adoration, and smiled. Let's go, honey. Before the storm hits, we have a few small messes to clean up. Isabella blinked. Small messes? I nodded, my eyes turning cold. For instance, that man who made your life a living hell. Damian Blackwood. It's time he was taken off the board. Crestview General Hospital, Premium VIP Suite. Damian Blackwood lay in bed, wrapped in so many bandages he looked like a mummy. All 4 of his limbs had been broken. He would spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. But that wasn't what broke him. What broke him was that he had lost everything. His company was gone, his family had disowned him, and the friends who once flocked to him now wouldn't even answer his calls. He had fallen from the heavens into the deepest pit of hell. Why? Why did this happen? He muttered to the ceiling, his eyes vacant. He couldn't understand how he had lost, so completely and utterly, to a man he considered worthless. Just then, the door to his room opened. Isabella and I walked in side by side. The moment he saw us, Damian's eyes filled with a venomous hatred. Ethan, Isabella, it was you. You did this to me. He shrieked, trying to sit up, only to cry out in pain as his injuries protested. Did this to you? I walked to his bedside and looked down at him with a smile. I thought you liked making people kneel. What are you doing lying down? You. Damian trembled with rage. Isabella looked at his pathetic state without a shred of pity, only cold, hard loathing. This is your karma, Damian, she said coldly. In our last life, this is how you treated me and my family. Now you get to see what it feels like. Last life. Damian stared at her. What? What nonsense are you talking about? Isabella didn't bother to explain. There was no need to waste words on a dead man. I took a document from my jacket and tossed it on his chest. Your death certificate. I went ahead and signed it for you. Damian picked up the paper. When he saw what it was, his pupils shrank. It was a consent form for voluntary euthanasia, waiving all further medical treatment. And at the bottom, in the signature line, was his own name. No, I didn't sign this. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. He screamed, tearing the paper to shreds like a madman. I'm afraid it's not up to you. I snapped my fingers. 2 men in doctors' coats entered the room. They walked impassively to his bed and produced a syringe filled with a clear liquid. What are you doing? Get away from me. Get away. Damian thrashed wildly, pure terror in his eyes. But he was strapped to the bed and couldn't move. He looked at me, then at Isabella, his voice a desperate, final plea. Please, I'm begging you, let me go. I was wrong. My face was a mask of indifference. Isabella simply turned her head away. The cold needle pierced his arm. The clear liquid slowly entered his bloodstream. Damien's struggles weakened. His eyes began to lose focus. The last thing he ever saw was the image of me and Isabella standing together, a perfect couple silhouetted against the light. And he was just an ant they had crushed under their feet. An ocean of regret and futility drowned his final thoughts. We walked out of the hospital into the bright afternoon sun. Isabella took a deep, shuddering breath, as if exhaling the poison of 2 lifetimes. She turned to me, her face breaking into a radiant, relieved smile. Ethan, it's over. No, I shook my head, taking her hand in mine. Our story is just beginning. I led her to a black sedan parked at the curb. The door opened, and a man in a tailored black suit and gold-rimmed glasses stepped out. He bowed deeply. King, the Godfather sent me to collect you. I nodded and helped Isabella into the car. The car pulled away from the curb, smooth and silent, heading toward an unknown future. Isabella leaned her head on my shoulder, watching the city blur past the window. Where are we going? She whispered. I leaned down and placed a soft kiss on her forehead. Home, to our pantheon. She nodded, as if she understood, then closed her eyes and drifted off to sleep in my arms. Looking at her peaceful face, a fond smile touched my lips. In my past life, I was a king who ruled the world, but I was alone. In this life, for you, I would give up the throne just to be your guardian. Outside the window, the world was bracing for a storm. My era was about to begin again. And this time, I had her by my side. End.